evening, TheoTrade. This is Corey Rosenblum, and you're watching the Theo Nightly video for June the 4th, 2019. And while we'll focus in just a moment on gold and treasuries, mainly surging up, breaking resistance, and keeping the upturn going, we'll take a look at the first moment at the market today. Let's look at the S&P, which rallied over 2%. The Nasdaq was up 2.7%, and the other indices were up roughly the same. That's after yesterday's session when the market plunged down to John's 2731 level. That's a gravity spot, a pivot, and a multi-month support level. So similarly to this comparison to October 2008 with this creep up, crash, creep up, crash, we are seeing the market push back into 2731. Now, that is not different than what happened over in October 2018. So similar logic with this crash, bounce, support. And as we play into the remainder of this week and the beginning of June, these are the levels with which we're watching. 2800, of course, in the S&P futures, and then 2811. That was a formidable resistance point later in 2018. So if the market does start to break above 2820 and higher, we'll have to throw in the towel and say this time is different. But not until. So carefully watch this 2800 and 2811 spot when you make comparisons to 2018 right here, which we've been doing in the Theo Nightly videos, and how you manage your positions. Let's start with gold. You may not trade gold, but it does relate to the equity markets and can be an alternate investment or alternate vehicle for profits on a short-term swing or intraday basis. Now, I'll be looking at the GC, which is our gold futures contract. You can also use GLD if you don't trade futures or prefer trading options. We have had a bounce or rally up off this 1270 level. It's a further back in time support level. We'll get all of that off the chart there. And that's been the point with gold has rallied. Not just a rally off of support, but a break of a falling trend line. And that's sent gold surging above our 1300 round number pivot all the way up just shy of 1340. The prior high, just about 1350, is your game plan or swing trade target. We'll be watching gold closely as it pushes through this open air zone, and it's broken through each of these resistance highs. 1315, 1323, and the next one now, of course, is 1350. The same logic once again takes place in gold or with option contracts. The levels will be different, the pricing structure is different, and therefore the trades will be managed, entered, and exited differently. So that key pivot is just above 126 per share, and the round number pivot for support was about 120 per share. I think you can see the gold ETF here had a stronger surge of bull volume. And this is what we look at in terms of playing off of a support level into a bullish or bounce position. As the price goes lower into a support level, you typically want to see red or sell volume decline. You can see that a little bit closer by looking at the daily chart and zooming in on the volume grid. You also want to see green or bull volume steadily go up. And if that's the case, any in-out spreads put on about 120, 121 thereabout, or bull purchased vertical spreads, those are supported by increases in green or bull volume and decreases in red or sell volume. This is the case at the moment. We'll shrink back the volume chart and then take a look now at bonds, starting with ZB. Now, bonds are in focus because of the Federal Reserve has just announced that they may, possibly, might, maybe, actually cut rates in 2019. And that's a far cry from where we ended 2018 with the logic of, or their stated position, that we'll raise interest rates 2, maybe 3, maybe 4 times in 2019. That didn't happen. And so instead of raising 3, 4 times, they've actually frozen their policy. They have announced a freeze or no rate hike policy, and now they're starting to inch closer toward cutting interest rates. That's a sudden shift, all of which has surged the bond prices. As interest rates go down, bond prices go up, but also as logic or as traders start to gather risk or think the market's going to fall or protect their assets, they'll purchase bonds. And that's a good strategy if you think the market's going to fall long term. So bonds have gone up both because of the Federal Reserve stated policy and, of course, because the equity market has, for the most part, recently fallen. That's a double bonus for the bond market. And that's pushed up away from these 2019 highs in an uptrend. Not just an uptrend, but an uptrend consistently supported with higher green bull volume. We can also take a look at this through the 10-year note, which is ZN. Not a lot different there in terms of levels, but in terms of price. The logic is the same. The turn and the break and the resistance and the reversal are the same. The bull flags and everything else are the same. And this recent May surge, and it's going to take us into June. I like to trade the TLT as opposed to the actual contracts. So this resistance gave way, not to a sell swing, but to a breakout. So logic will be the same once again, depending on what you trade, either in options, TLT itself, ZB, ZN on an intraday basis, or of course, swing basis. Nevertheless, this is a rapidly rising market. We don't typically see bond prices or TLT or bond ETFs behave this bullishly. The last time we had something similar to it was the end of 2015 into 2016. So we are at that halfway point and higher on TLT. ZN will push to the upside there, similar, and of course ZB. They're calculated differently. The ETF is different than the future, so the charts will look different. But in terms of comparisons, the most recent time we had this up, down, up spike was mainly 2016. So careful on the positions. Watch these levels on the bigger picture as we come into resistance into ZB and, of course, the 10-year note. These are all pivot points, and if bonds start to fall, that could be a catalyst to surprise us with higher equity prices. So keep a close watch on these levels as we push through June. But as always, be safe and careful. This is Corey Rosenblum with your Theo Nightly Video for June the 4th, 2019.